the Bama commits, and what all we saw as Alabama, to me, was on display along with a couple kids from Auburn, recruits and commits. But Alabama on display this past weekend on ESPN. We'll talk about that, as well as I want to go ahead and set up. I want to talk to you about this linebacker top 5. Alabama making the list of 5-star. I mean, I don't know if he's necessarily a 5-star, but elite linebacker. I'm going to butcher the name. Henry Tu'uto'o, right? Is that
Hey, that worked.
Hey, listen, for those of you who think I'm struggling, the young man's name is spelled T-O''O'. S. That's how you say when you're going to say his top school. So anyway, we're going to talk about him, as well as you. I know you got a VIP article out there about this 5-star whose dad says Alabama defense, big kid. Alabama has everything they need. I want to talk about who you're talking about there, and so people can go out and get the rest of that. We got Hank back. Hank, you there with me?
Yep.
All right. Hey, here's Pat. Pat, what's your question for Hank?
All right. First off, fellas, it's going to take a military coup by Nick Saban in order to make this happen. I found a quarterback down in Texas, and hey, and remember what I just said, military coup? His name is General Booty. His mama's brother was Joe Ferguson, who played nearly 20 years at Buffalo.
A little while ago, too.
And his brother, well, his uncles are John David Booty and all of the Booties that have been in Louisiana that played Major League Baseball in the NFL, blah, blah, blah. But this guy has humongous hands, does not have any star rating yet. But I watched his film, and he is the most unbelievable freshman quarterback I have ever seen. And this guy is fast, and I wanted to see what Hank thought about him. And my one question when I hang up is, are we going to be able to get the Hawaiian defensive lineman and the number 1 lineman out of Louisiana for defense?
All right.
Thank you, fellas.
Thanks, Pat. All right, Hank, I'll toss it to you. Pat's found a secret weapon down in some parts of Texas. That kind of sounds scary when you think about it, but also then about the big defensive lineman, 5-star recruits. Go ahead, Hank.
Yeah, that is the first time I've ever heard of this kid, was Pat bringing him up. So I'm going to have to check out his film and see what he's talking about. But, yeah, I mean, I just pulled him up on 24/7 Sports. He has a profile page, Cornerstone Christian in San Antonio, Texas, class of 2021. So I'll check him out and maybe get back Pat on that one next week. But yeah, it's, the 5-star defensive lineman, Patui Tuateli out of Hawaii. I do not think he is going to pick Alabama. I think there was a point when Alabama was certainly his leader, although he didn't name the leaders. But I think they were the team trending. If you kind of just watch his recruitment, he's played at the same high school as Tua Tagovailoa. He made 2 visits to Alabama unofficially from Hawaii this past spring and summer. It just seemed like Alabama was trending up for him big time. He visited in June for the Champions Cookout, and he actually worked out at the offensive and defensive line camp that weekend. And from what I was told, did not have best performances. It wasn't something that just eliminated him from Alabama's conversation, but I think it kind of just slowed down the push for Patui Tuateli.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Hank. I'd heard that he didn't have a great in-person performance, and with there being so many elite defensive linemen, Alabama already having some, that their pursuit waned a little bit, and of course, when the kids realized that, their interests also changed.
Right. And it wasn't something that just, he's completely off their board.
Right.
I just wanted to kind of see his senior season, see how he develops. And it looks like Washington's starting to trend up. He did want to make a decision pretty soon at the end of the summer, beginning of his season. So looks like that's probably where he's going to end up at this point unless something changes. And then, we can talk about Ishmael Sopsher, the 5-star defensive tackle Pat asked about. I think you had mentioned wanting to talk about that article in a little bit. So I'll leave it for that coming up here in a second. But, yeah, I don't think things are trending in Alabama's direction for Patui Tuateli anymore.
Yeah, well, speaking of Sop Show, the picture you have tagged, it looks like a grown man on a peewee field in uniform with the guys behind him, his classmates and teammates. How big is Isaiah and Sop Show, and where's Alabama standing with him in terms of the recruiting process?
Yeah, no, he's huge. I saw him up close person at the opening this past summer, and he's certainly that 6'3". I think 6'2.5", 330. Yeah, he's big. But no, Alabama's been on Ishmael Sopsher for. It's got his entire high school career, at least, if not longer. He's been camping in Tuscaloosa since he was in 8th grade. It all started with Bo Davis, was his original relationship as far as on the Alabama staff, and of course Carl Dunbar. Now Craig Kulagowski is there, but Pete Golding is the recruiting the area recruiter for Meet Louisiana now, and certainly he's built a strong relationship with them. But we talked to Ishmael's dad the other night and posted the story yesterday morning on Bama Online. But I think, and I said this for a while, I think Bama's in a good spot for Ishmael Sopsher. This time last year, he put out a top 12 but didn't have Alabama in it. And so I think people kind of, what's going on. And of course, they're back in it now. He put out a top 7 at the end of July. Alabama was in it. He's spoken very highly of them. I think this is a recruitment that's starting to shift towards Alabama or LSU. And everyone thinks LSU is kind of how it is. And, it's fair. He's from Louisiana. They've offered him early on as well, like Alabama. They've actually offered his brother, who's a junior college defensive lineman in Iowa, Rodney Sopsher, so that's also a big factor. So we'll see, but, guys from that high school and guys in Louisiana, Bama had a huge showing in Louisiana a couple of years ago, and they got Devontae Smith. They got Chris Allen, got Dylan Moses, obviously a Louisiana native. They got all those guys out of the state, and for the better part of those guys' recruitments, they're all treating to LSU. So you can't really count on Alabama in these recruitments, and I'm certainly not doing that here with Ishmael Sopsher. But interesting thing his dad said is, he said, speaking of Alabama as far as what he sees in it, he says they have everything Ishmael needs. And he said, I'm not saying that's where he's going, but they check all the boxes. And then he went on to say he doesn't have any favorites right now, but he does. Just talking to him, he seems very excited about Alabama. So I think that's obviously a good sign for the Tide in Ishmael Sopsher's recruitment. He's not making a decision until February 6th on National Signing Day when he does plan to sign. So there's a long way to go, but I do think Alabama's in a good spot right now at this point to land him and to add to an already pretty strong defensive line class.
Yeah, speaking with Hank South 247 Sports, and you can actually find that in one of Hank's VIP articles, and he'll give you how you can get more information on how you can become a member of the Bama Online family and follow him and get more great content like that. Hank, this past weekend, high school football kicked off. Friday night, Alabama commit Talia Tagovailoa lights up. I think it was James. I forget the name of the school, but James Madison or whatever it was. But either way, I think he had 4 touchdowns, 375, 385 yards, 3 of those in the first half. And everybody was going crazy. Then on Saturday, Paul Tyson comes out against Cedar Grove on ESPN and goes in at halftime with 3 touchdowns and 200 and something yards and ends the game with over 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. What are you kind of hearing as far as the buzz of those 2 guys? First of all, and then a couple other recruits were in that game as well.
Yeah, it's kind of they're picking up right where they left off last year. Talia was constantly throwing over 300, 400 yards in games. Paul Tyson too. Obviously, Paul Tyson's got some pretty good players to throw to. They were certainly they were showing off their skill sets on ESPN. And if you watch that full game, pretty much had the game-winning touchdown pass thrown, and the Hewitt Trustwell receiver dropped it.
Yes,
forgot who it was that dropped it. It wasn't one of the Alabama recruits, but it would have pretty much sealed the game.
It was an Auburn guy. No, I'm just kidding.
Right?
Just kidding.
That kid, watching him, I was very impressed with Javarius Johnson. I've heard good things about him. I didn't really know fully – he transferred to Hewitt-Trussville this offseason. So you didn't really know – I didn't know much about him, but I thought he looked really good. But, yeah, so I think the Hewitt-Trussville guys, the ones I've talked to since the beginning, they were not happy with that loss. But they also at the same time were, that was a good wake-up call for them because that was an upset. Cedar Grove wasn't really supposed to beat them.
Yeah. And they trailed – they led the entire game. Hewitt-Trussville led the entire game till the last possession. Now, I will say this. Hazel, whatever, the kid from Cedar Grove, he became a game changer at defensive back. I mean –
I think that's how Cedar Grove only dressed out like a little over 30 guys. So, like, they kind of – a lot of them had to play more minutes. And, yeah, he's the number one rated receiver in the country. And, yeah, he was playing some defensive back really well.
I was going to say he's number one rated receiver, but he probably would be in the top 10 at defensive back because, like I said, he was a game changer down the stretch at defensive back because he only touched the ball a couple times on the offensive side. And then, of course, special teams, he's special there. But what's the freshman wide receiver for Hewitt-Trussville may end up being the best player on that team that's committed to Alabama next year. And it's just crazy how much talent that team has. And I will say this, Pierce Quick, and I'm going to get you to come in on him. Pierce Quick is legit. He is one of the best looking offensive linemen I've seen in high school in a long time. I don't know how good Clay Webb is, but Pierce Quick seems to be legit.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think he's obviously playing tackle for Hewitt-Trussville. I think when he comes to Alabama, he's gonna develop. I think he's gonna start on the interior and kind of eventually probably move out to tackle. But yeah, I mean, he's just a mauler. You watch him on film. It's hard sometimes. You focus so much watching these games on ESPN. You want to watch Paul Tyson throw it to Zaylen Worsham. You want to see all the skill action, but you don't really stop and look at who's blocking for him. And the few times I did to watch Pierce, I mean, he was just mowing guys over. And he kind of got knocked a little bit on his performance at the opening back in July. But if you think about it, I mean, he wasn't wearing pads. Neither was Clay Webb, for that matter. And he was coming off a shoulder surgery in the offseason. That was the first time he was hitting guys. Right. He wasn't wearing pads. And so I think you kind of have to I mean, he's still very highly rated. We're very high first quick. I mean, the industry is overall. But
hey, yeah, Hank, I got the. I'm getting a cue for having to cut it off. But hey, we'll pick back up and give you a little extra time next week. But hey, you can follow Hank South 247 Sports at Hank South 247.